Sam Altman just hit the panic button. OpenAI, the company that basically created the modern AI race, just declared what they're calling a code red. And if you know anything about how Silicon Valley works, code red does not mean things are going great. It means the ship is taking on water and everyone needs to grab a bucket. Here's what happened. Altman sent an internal memo that got leaked to the Wall Street Journal, and in the memo he basically admitted that ChatGPT has problems. Big problems. The kind of problems that require shutting down other projects, reorganizing teams, and holding daily emergency calls. They're delaying work on advertising, health AI agents, shopping assistants, and something called Pulse that was supposed to be your new personal AI buddy. All hands on deck to fix the core product. Now, you might be thinking, wait, doesn't ChatGPT have over 800 million weekly users? Isn't OpenAI the company everyone's been obsessing over for the past 2 years? Yes, and that's exactly why this is so fascinating. Because what we're witnessing right now is the moment when being first does not mean you stay first. Let's talk about Google. Google released Gemini 3.0 last month, and it absolutely crushed OpenAI on industry benchmarks. Not by a little bit. We're talking about measurable superiority in the tests that actually matter to developers and enterprise customers. And the market responded. Google's stock shot up. Meanwhile, OpenAI is over here dealing with the fact that their latest ChatGPT model, the one they hyped up and released in August, fell completely flat. Users complained it was cold, robotic, couldn't handle basic math questions, couldn't answer simple geography prompts. They had to rush out and upgrade last month just to make it feel less like talking to a calculator. And here's where it gets really interesting. Google's Gemini user base has been exploding. They went from 450 million monthly active users in July to 650 million in October. That's 200 million new users in 3 months. They launched an image generator called Nano Banana in August, and people loved it. Meanwhile, OpenAI is stuck trying to figure out how to make their chatbot faster, more reliable, and capable of answering a wider range of questions. Those aren't innovation problems. Those are maintenance problems. That's the kind of stuff you're supposed to have figured out before you become the poster child for the entire AI revolution. But wait, there is more. Anthropic, the other AI startup that everyone's watching, is eating OpenAI's lunch in the enterprise space. Businesses are choosing Claude over ChatGPT because it's more reliable, because it handles complex tasks better, because it doesn't have the same safety theater issues that OpenAI keeps wrestling with. And that matters because enterprise customers are where the real money is. Consumer products are great for headlines and user counts, but Fortune 500 contracts are what pay the bills. Speaking of bills, let's talk about OpenAI's money problem. The company is not profitable at all. They're burning through cash so fast, they have to raise funding constantly just to keep the lights on. They've committed to hundreds of billions of dollars in future data center investments, which sounds impressive until you realize they have no clear path to profitability. According to their own financial projections, they need to grow revenue to roughly $200 billion by 2030 just to break even. 200 billion. For context, that's more annual revenue than Netflix, Coca-Cola, and Nike combined. And here's the kicker. Google can fund their AI research out of existing revenue. Microsoft can too. These companies have money printing machines called search engines and cloud services and operating systems. OpenAI has a chatbot that people use for free. Sure, they have ChatGPT Plus subscriptions and their API business, but that's not enough to cover the astronomical costs of training cutting-edge AI models and building out global infrastructure. This is why Altman's memo is so revealing. He's trying to rally the troops, telling them that yes, Google beat us on benchmarks, but we've got a new reasoning model coming out next week that's better than Gemini. Trust me, we're still winning on various other fronts. That's the language of someone who's watching their lead evaporate in real time. And you can see the pressure mounting everywhere. The memo mentions they had previously declared a code orange to improve ChatGPT. Orange wasn't urgent enough. Now they're at red. They use three color codes at OpenAI: yellow, orange, and red to describe how badly something needs fixing. They skipped yellow entirely and went straight to orange, and now they are at red. That tells you everything you need to know about how management views the current situation. What's fascinating is that this was entirely predictable. OpenAI had a massive first mover advantage. They launched ChatGPT in November 2022 and basically created the entire consumer AI market overnight. But first mover advantage only matters if you can maintain your lead. And OpenAI spent the past year dealing with internal drama, CEO firing and rehirings, board reshufflings, and safety debates instead of relentlessly improving their product. Meanwhile, Google woke up. The company that everyone said was too slow, too bureaucratic, too risk-averse to compete in AI suddenly remembered they invented the transformer architecture that makes all of this possible. They remembered they have more AI researchers, more computing power, and more money than God. And they decided to actually try. Turns out when Google tries, they're pretty good at this stuff. The safety theater issue is worth digging into because it's been quietly killing OpenAI's momentum. After GPT-5 launched in August, users immediately noticed it was more restricted, more careful, more likely to refuse requests. OpenAI was clearly trying to avoid PR disasters and regulatory scrutiny, but they overreacted so badly that the product became less useful. People started complaining that ChatGPT could not answer basic questions about current events, couldn't help with creative writing prompts, would randomly refuse to engage with perfectly innocent requests. It felt like talking to someone who was consistently looking over their shoulder, terrified of saying things wrong. And that's a real problem when your competitors aren't hamstrung by the same concerns. Google has the legal teams and institutional backing to navigate these issues more smoothly. Anthropic has positioned itself as the responsible AI company from day one, so they can be careful without seeming paranoid. OpenAI is stuck in this weird middle ground where they're trying to be the cool, innovative startup while also pretending to be the mature, safety-conscious industry leader. You can't be both. The financial markets are starting to notice too. OpenAI's fortunes are tied to Nvidia, Microsoft, and Oracle because those are the companies providing the chips and cloud infrastructure that make their models possible. When concerns emerge about OpenAI's ability to turn massive investments into actual revenue, that sends ripples through the entire tech sector. We saw it in recent weeks with stock volatility in all of these connected companies. The market is asking a simple question. If OpenAI is spending hundreds of billions of dollars, when exactly does the money start coming back? Altman keeps insisting they're fine, pointing to ChatGPT's 800 million weekly users as proof. And sure, that's an impressive number, but users don't pay the bills unless they're actually paying customers, and the vast majority of ChatGPT's users are on the free tier. The conversion rate from free to paid is a closely guarded secret, but industry estimates suggests it's not great. Maybe 5 to 10% at best. That means you've got 800 million users, but only 40 to 80 million are actually giving you money. And even those are only paying $20 a month. Do the math. Even at the high end, that's maybe $2 billion a year from consumer subscriptions. Add it in the API business and enterprise contracts, and you might get to 10 billion in annual revenue. That's nowhere near the 200 billion they need by 2030 to break even, which means they need to grow revenue by 20 times in the next 5 years while also dramatically improving margins. In an increasingly competitive market where Google and Microsoft can operate at a loss indefinitely just to crush you. The other projects getting delayed are telling too. Advertising was supposed to be a major revenue stream. Health and AI shopping agents could have opened up enormous enterprise markets. Pulse, the personal assistant, was clearly meant to compete with whatever Apple is cooking up with Siri and AI integration. All of that is on hold because ChatGPT itself is struggling. That's not a company executing a careful strategic plan. That's a company in survival mode. And you've got to wonder about internal morale. OpenAI employees are some of the most talented AI researchers and engineers in the world. They joined the company because it was the cutting edge, because they wanted to work on the most advanced AI systems, because they believed they were building the future. Now they're being told to drop everything and focus on making the chatbot faster and less buggy. It's not exactly the inspiring mission that gets people excited to work 100-hour weeks. The talent retention issue is already showing up in the news. High-profile researchers have been leaving OpenAI for competitors. Some are going to Google, some to Anthropic, some are starting their own companies. When you're in a field as competitive as AI, losing your best people is a death sentence. The technology moves so fast that even a 6-month talent drain can set you back years. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody at OpenAI wants to say out loud. ChatGPT might have been a fluke. Not in the sense that it wasn't impressive or valuable, but in the sense that OpenAI stumbled into a perfect storm of timing, presentation, and market readiness that created an explosion of attention. They didn't necessarily execute better than everyone else. They just went to market at exactly the right moment, with exactly the right product format, and the world went crazy for it. But that kind of lightning in a bottle is almost impossible to recreate, and it does not guarantee long-term success. The AI race is just getting started, and OpenAI is already huffing and puffing, trying to keep pace. Google has deeper pockets, better infrastructure, and just proved they can build better models. Anthropic has carved out the enterprise market and isn't burdened by OpenAI's baggage. Microsoft is a frenemy at best, simultaneously partnering with OpenAI while building their own AI capabilities. And there are dozens of other companies from China to Europe to smaller Silicon Valley startups all working on the same problems. This code red moment is OpenAI admitting they're not invincible. They're admitting that being first does not mean staying first. They're admitting that the comfortable narrative of OpenAI as the inevitable AI winner was always just a story we told ourselves. And now, reality is catching up. Will they figure it out? Maybe. They've still got talented people. They've still got brand recognition. They've still got massive user base. But brand recognition and user counts don't matter if the product does not work, if the business model does not scale, if the competition is simply better. The next few months are going to be fascinating. If OpenAI can actually fix ChatGPT's problems, improve the experience, and convert more free users into paying customers, maybe they survive this. If their new reasoning model really is better than Gemini, like Altman claims, maybe they regain some momentum. But if Google keeps improving, if Anthropic keeps winning enterprise deals, if the money runs out before the revenue catches up, we might look back on this memo as the moment when OpenAI's dominance ended. Not with a bang, but with a red coat. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss an update. Your support lets me keep bringing you more content just like this. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.